forward a couple of chapters from chapter 11 to chapter 14. And what we see in chapters 12 and 13 really serve as a prelude to what we're going to be looking at today. In chapter 12, Isaiah shares a hymn of praise for the Lord's salvation. And in chapter 13, we see a very specific prediction of the nation that will overthrow Babylon some 200 years from this prophecy that Isaiah is making. In chapter 14, of what we're going to be focusing in on today, we see the hope for Judah now and also for God's people in the future, as well as Isaiah calling the Israelite people to singing this song of taunting of the king of Babylon. And this taunt is really focused around this core concept of pride. And as we read in chapter 14, verses 13 through 14 of Isaiah, "You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven, above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High." Pride. If I'm honest with you and myself, pride is something that I've had a difficult time with throughout my entire life. And though it's embarrassing to admit, I have many examples of different times that pride has either clouded my judgment or had a negative impact on my relationships. And one time actually came to mind as I was reflecting on these words this week, and it was something that I had experienced when I was in high school. So for any of you that don't know me very well, I played soccer as a child throughout my entire childhood, really starting from about the age of 3 all the way through high school. And I focused a massive amount of time at developing my skill on the soccer field. So my parents gave me a lot of opportunities to further develop my skills, so much so that by the time I was in 8th grade, I was playing on a competitive select team with 15 and 16-year-olds. These are guys that in some cases are driving, and some of which were on the varsity team that won state the year prior, a high school state championship. So they were walking around with state championship rings on their fingers. So in my mind, it was a foregone conclusion that I was not only going to be playing in high school, but I was going to be on varsity. Maybe not starting, but certainly on the team. So as freshman year rolled around and trainings were beginning to take place and teams, we were starting to go out for different teams, I was less focused on making the team and more focused on where my patches might go on my Letterman jacket that I was going to be getting as a freshman. So teams started to get posted, varsity team posted. I didn't make it. That's okay, because JVA would give me a little bit of room to grow, and I could move up to varsity. JVA team posted. I didn't make it. JVB posted. I didn't make it. I was added to the JVC team, which is really just a team for anybody that was interested in trying soccer for the first time, regardless of level of skill or previous experience. To say that I was upset, devastated, embarrassed, that was an understatement. This was a really humbling experience for me. And though this is just a trivial example of something that happened within my life, what it helps for me is to frame the lens of posture that I should have as I'm chasing after the Lord. And again, just a small trivial example, but it's a time when pride got in the way of what was really important. So with that in mind, there's a shift in literary style as we move forward to verses 22 through 32, and we move into a prose style. And God will share, there's judgment against Assyria now for Judah. There is judgment against Assyria now in this time and place, but also the judgment of Babylon in the future. And we see that judgment throughout time, throughout the entirety of the Bible, whether it's in Genesis, the Tower of Babylon, or Babel, all the way through to Revelation. The nations of this world will all fall and fall short of the glory of God. And the hope that we have today comes in the life, death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So these are just some ideas, some concepts that we will be discussing today as we study the chapter 14 of Isaiah, and just some things to think about as I hand off to your life group leader. I hope you enjoy today's lesson.